No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I'm in the building with Riley Reid for something like the 4th or 5th, 6th time, something like that. She's here.
I'm here. We're still friends.
We're still friends. How you doing?
I'm good.
It's been a long time. I'm great.
I know. It's been years.
So let's rewind the clock. You remember when Lena, I think, had just had the baby, and you and her did the podcast together?
Yeah.
And I think at that time you were plotting on a baby, but you definitely weren't pregnant yet at that point, right? But you kind of knew it was coming?
When you guys had your baby, I wasn't even in a serious relationship.
You weren't even with Pasha yet at that point?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. So this was all actually very fast
single.
after that.
Yeah. I moved like fucking quick.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. All right. So your kid is how old right now?
5 months. She'll be 6 months and 2 weeks.
Right. Okay. Amazing. And so what was like the pattern of how all this went down? How long were you with Pasha before the baby conversation started?
We never even had a conversation about the baby. I just got pregnant. And so like we were dating for 3 to 4 months. And so it was like really fresh fucking relationship. And I got pregnant. But at this time I was already like 29 and everything like that. And I was like really vibing with Pasha, and I was like, you know what, like I'm ready for a baby, I think. And a lot of my life decisions have been very spontaneous decisions that just kind of fucking randomly happen, unplanned, and they're some of the best decisions that I ever made in my life. Like, for example, porn was just like a super random thing that just happened. And so I kind of went with my, you know, I guess just like instincts and kind of just like spontaneity.
Yeah. There.
Is that the word?
Yeah. Spontaneous, spontaneity.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Spontaneity.
No, but okay. So it's interesting because we have to like break down the chapters in Riley Reid's life and your mentality towards porn and life. Because when I think about meeting you in, I guess, probably like 2016, that, I mean, you had been in a relationship for many years already at that point.
Yeah, I had been in many relationships at that point.
Because you kind of were always a relationship girl, like even when you were like full blown into porn. But you had a bunch of relationships throughout the years.
I had quite a few relationships, but I definitely like had like 2 year to 4 year spurts of just being single while still in porn. So like when I started, I was single, and then I dated a guy for like a year or two. Then I was single again for like another 2 years. Then I dated a guy for like 8 months.
Right.
And then I was single for almost 4 years where I didn't date anybody. And well, I guess if you count Lil Pump.
Right.
Sorry,
I mean, there was
if you're listening.
Because I'm going to break that down because I feel like that
doesn't count to me as a relationship.
Oh, for sure. But that's like a certain period in your life.
Yeah, that was when I was in like my super just like fuck girl phase where I was like, you know, living in the hype of Riley Reid, and I was just like wanting to like explore myself and just have fun and kind of be wild, because I think it was also like I knew my youth was coming to an end and stuff, and that I wanted a more serious chapter later. So I was like, let me fucking ride the rest of this out where I can be obnoxious and crazy and young. And then I was like, okay, now I went through that for like maybe 4 years. I was like fucking around with random guys, doing whatever. It was like not really affectionate. It was just sexual.
Right, because you dated this guy who was the EDM guy or whatever, let's just call him, for like 6 years, right?
No, like 2, not even.
Oh, it was? Like, so around that time period, that was only a 2-year relationship? I thought it was like a long-ass one.
No, I've never had long relationships, actually.
Okay. But then it was kind of interesting because I got to see you go from like, I knew you as Riley with a boyfriend who also is this legendary porn star who's doing all the craziest shit on camera, to then like all of a sudden, oh no, like we can actually do a scene with Riley. Like we could act like Riley's hooking up with my rapper homie, you know?
Yeah, I used to be a super tame porn star, and I think it was also because like I don't think I registered like my possibilities and whatnot, and I was like, oh, I'm just like a regular girl who like happens to do porn and I'm successful or whatever. And like it wasn't until like my relationship ended with him that I broke up with him, and I was like, I invited like a bunch of fucking hot bitches. You came to that party for my birthday where I was like, I just want to be surrounded by hot women. And like that was like the start of me kind of like wanting to embrace my own sexuality. And a lot of that was, I think, because my ex was so anti-porn and like I almost quit porn when I was with him because I thought I hated porn, but then I realized I just hated him.
But okay, so is this just an anecdote I heard, or is this a fact that he was like cool with you doing porn for a while, and then there was like a period of time where you didn't do it for a few months for some reason, and then he basically was like, I'm just not cool with you?
No, I didn't quit. I had always done it. And so it wasn't until my career started to pop off in the anal department that that was where his like super mega insecurities in our relationship started to get on the rocks and stuff.
Really?
Because it was like, it was now starting to affect like our at-home life because like, you know, when you're doing anal, you can't eat certain foods or do certain things.
So
or
it's
whatever.
like reminding him of the reality of your job too much?
Yes, because like when I'm just regular working, it's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? Well, whatever the fuck. And then when it's like I have a special anal scene, he's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, oh, like I just have to have this, this, and this because like, and so it was like, things like that were triggering because it was like when she's not eating normal, that means she has anal the next day. And then like it just was emotionally draining and exhausting.
There's something about the asshole. It might not be rational, but like, yeah, I feel like I would feel differently. If my girl shot with other guys, I feel like the anal thing would feel different to me in my mind.
Maybe, but like I ended up quitting doing gangbangs for him. And so like that was the one choice that I did. And I think that that was already a mistake because I gave him power. Up control. Yeah, I gave him power. And so then then he was like, well, will you just quit doing boy girl and like all this stuff. And he wanted me to quit my job and everything. And I was like, okay, well then can I move in with you? Because like, how am I going to fucking pay my rent?
Well, and this is pre-OnlyFans too, right?
Yeah, pre-OnlyFans.
Because your whole career's change has kind of like been because of OnlyFans a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, now I have like more of like a steady residual income where before it was like I go on set and I get paid, you know, as a freelance, so it's like a one-time payment. And
you were making a lot of money, but it was because you were shooting a fuckload, shooting insane stuff, and you did build your name like that. But nowadays with OnlyFans, all that shit just seems totally stupid because you would have to be running.
Not at all.
Does it? Like financially though, it doesn't really like move the needle as much, does it?
100%.
Let's hear about it.
Because let's say like this girl, she's like obviously certain girls have other tangible things, like for example you're Sky Bree, like you're a public figure, you're able to help build up her brand and everything.
I was specifically talking about you. I agree that the porn companies are great for building up new talent.
That's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't be Riley Reid and successful if I didn't shoot hundreds of those fucking shitty scenes or like, you know, the scenes where I get gangbanged or whatever.
But I'm saying now.
I still think it's important. Like I still think that like if you really wanted a hugely financially successful career, you should shoot for the mainstream sites because.
But you don't do it.
Not anymore because I don't have to.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now I don't have to because I've established myself.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like that's just so interesting that it's like the reality of the job has changed that much in the course of like 6, 7 years, 5 years, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, but I think like I mean even before I was still able to like slow down my work because I had my website like Read My Lips and I have like residual incomes from like my Fleshlight and stuff like that. So I've gotten my hands in many pots over the years. OnlyFans definitely changed the fucking game, but even without OnlyFans, I think that I would still be able to be, you know, successful because of all of the porn I did in the past. Obviously, I'm not making money from all of the scenes that are on like Bang Bros and stuff, but I do think long term it will keep bringing me financial income because they're going to want to Google me or search me or whatever because there's so much fucking content of me on the internet. So like when someone new starts watching content online and they see fucking 300 scenes of Riley Reid, they're going to be like, who the fuck is this bitch? I want to watch all her content.
Right.
And where can I go get more from her? Oh, she just dropped a clothing line. Oh, I want to get some of that.
But that's the new conflict because I also know girls who kill it on OnlyFans and basically like make Pornhub like completely like not have anything of them, and that basically like forces a lot of people who would just search their name on Pornhub to go find their OnlyFans or whatever. But then you're also kind of pushing people into like more illegitimate sites as well, like piracy type sites and Reddit and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a tricky thing of like how much do you want to put of yourself out there versus what is it like to just put like with Plug Talk we put like 5-minute clips of the interviews / sex stuff, and it's like it's probably good promotion. But you also wonder, like, would it be better promotion if we just put a couple of full episodes? Like, obviously, putting the full episodes of all of them wouldn't be the idea. But
I did hear a girl tell me recently that when she recently got her Twitter suspended, and she said that she had a huge spike in her OnlyFans joins because even on Twitter, you have, your free or your promo posts for your content, so it's like there's some nudes and some like maybe like 5-second clips of you sucking dick promoting your thing or some trailers and whatnot, so people can get that free content even just from your Twitter.
It's kind of crazy but it's still, if you're a new girl, you basically have no choice but to just give it away for free on Twitter and stuff, because you have no other way to get people to pay attention to you. But then 100%. Also, once you're Sky Bree and you already know I'm popping, you kind of like, it makes sense to like I remember her posting like, anal type stuff or like full sloppy ass blowjob shit on Twitter and just being like, is that like a good idea at this point? Like, that's kind of what people need to be paying for right now, specifically, and I feel like she has kind of cooled off on like tweeting the crazy shit,
Oh, interesting.
It's all strategy.
It is all strategy, and it's all very like, what is it, individual. Like every single person's demographic is going to be different and whatnot, so like, and everyone's method is so different. Like I'm still posting all that anal shit and everything like that and dildos up my ass because to me that's my aesthetic, that's what my fans expect from me, that's what I've created. So like I don't want them to like unfollow my Twitter because they're like, oh, you're as well as like for me, my Twitter is like my main thing.
I feel like your Twitter's not that explicit. Like I feel like I follow you on Twitter and I'm not seeing stuff going in your ass. Should I look at it? Yeah, did I turn off your retweets at some point in your life?
I don't have retweets turned on.
I'm going through this.
I don't do
I need
retweets.
to see how long I have to scroll down before I see your asshole getting...
Not that far.
Well, there's you with a dick in your vagina, November 16th.
And there's a dildo in my ass coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Say hi if you're a horny slut too. Okay. All right. I'm selling you short.
Yeah.
Although to be fair,
I fucking post all kinds of crazy shit on Twitter.
To be fair, that's one video over the course of like a couple months.
I remember I posted like a stacked pussy thing, and Chris D'Elia talked about it on his little podcast thing.
Lena was one of them, right?
Yeah, Lena was in the stacked pussy.
Yeah. It was 3 very different styles of vagina in a row.
Yeah, and it was so funny because he was like, "That's gangster. This fucking bitch is posting gangster shit. Like how you stack a pussy. And it's just girls sitting on top of each other." And it was so funny.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to ask you about this too. So now it is so unbelievably common for like podcasters to make content with porn stars. I feel like when I first did it, like when I first had you on the show, it being like a hip hop show, that I got like, well, number one, it ended up being one of our most popular episodes, but it also, I just remember getting so much hate for it and just being shocked. Like, why are you guys so close-minded? You guys don't like porn? You don't jerk off? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? But now I feel like that's so normal, and almost like every up-and-coming podcast that I could think of like a group of young dudes type podcast, they're having porn stars on. Like
hell yeah.
Any new porn star is just like content for them. They want to hear all about the life. People are fascinated by it. And I just sometimes feel like it's weird that nobody acknowledges how much shit has changed, because it just wasn't like that 5 or 6 years ago.
It wasn't. Honestly, I swear that I have a huge part to do it. And I could be like my
Deep throwing the mic on ImPaulsive was a moment.
Yes, like I definitely, I mean, going on ImPaulsive in general, like me going on to Logan Paul changed the whole fucking course of YouTube and porn stars. Like, because now, like, how many fucking porn stars hang out with Logan Paul and all of those guys now?
But
Mike started dating Lana.
Facts, but Logan Emily is a fake because he doesn't have porn stars on anymore.
I mean, but he did. He had me,
early
he had
on,
Lana Rhoades.
But then he shut it down because he wants to keep his image a certain way, I think, which honestly, I will say that I give him credit for that, just because there's so many other people doing it that it's like, you guys don't have to do it. Sure, like you could.
It's a little blown out, but Sky just did a video with him and like KSI, that like Tinder swipe thing or whatever.
Yeah, but like his podcast, I haven't seen him have, but for a while he was kind of doing a lot of it, kissing Johnny together and a bunch of different random ones.
I was doing so much stuff with Logan and stuff like that, and even just like his vlogs and stuff or whatever, and so I don't know. I definitely feel like though that I had a huge part in like bringing the porn stars into that world.
Yeah, because you were kind of like, for that era especially, you were like the main girl that people would think of right away of like, she's hot, she has a good personality, she can talk intelligently about the industry. So you were kind of like the go-to for a lot of podcasts. And then we've seen like different girls, like, you know, because like Logan and Jake and them, I seen like Emily Willis kind of became like their go-to girl at a certain point. And who knows who else is going to be. I guess they just box and shit now, so they don't really need porn stars that much. But yeah, it's definitely, it's just interesting how much that's changed.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's really interesting and funny to me because it's like sometimes I'll still get hit up by like those groups of people and they'll be like, hey, can you introduce us to this porn star? And so it's like I'm just like the porno intro for like every YouTuber.
But okay, so is it weird for you now because you're in mom mode? Does it feel like you don't want to be the one doing like the new Jake Paul prank YouTube video, or does some of that stuff seem like it's just got to be part of the past for you?
Certain things, like, yeah, I mean, I think certain things out of, like, respect of my relationship with my husband and my family, there are certain things that, I will and won't do. So it's like they actually invited me to go do that, like, the Tinder video with Logan and KSI, but I was like, to me, that's just not appropriate to be doing as
it's
like
weird
a married
because
woman.
It would just be fake. Like,
yeah,
honestly, you could
so fake
because half the girls have boyfriends on that shit. Let's be real, and are like not down to fuck anybody else, but they just go there, they play the role of the slut, and then they
exactly. And like, if I'm playing the role of the slut, then I don't want to like say things that like would, you know, degrade my husband or something like that, you know? So it's like I respect him and everything like that. So I'm not going to say or do YouTube videos or these like dating things and being like, oh, I would swipe on you if I wasn't married. You know, like to me, that's kind of like a stab at my husband, even though it's like me being Riley Reid. I don't want to like, there are fine lines now.
Like my girl went on an Adin Ross e-date. And it was just basically like her talking to a bunch of different Twitch streamers or whatever. But it was kind of weird that it was even called like an e-date because everybody involved knows me and knows like exactly what I got going on, knows she's my chick. So everybody's kind of like walking on eggshells and they're like joking around, but it's like it's so obvious that she's not like up for grabs or whatever. And it is kind of like I almost feel bad for her at times because she had to get used to it of like once you get into that like mom mode or you have, especially when you have a boyfriend or a husband who's like well known, you just can't really like go on podcasts and do the like, look, I'm a dumb hoe thing, which like I love Karmen Karma, but like she kills it doing that. Like her, I heard her OnlyFans shit is through the roof this year, and it's because she like goes on podcasts and she's like, yeah, one time I let a bunch of guys come at me and then I have my husband eat it out of me or some shit, which is like, I mean, that's crazy. Like she's lucky to be in a relationship where that kind of shit is cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of weird to like have to adapt at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're already, if you know, their relationship is probably already naturally like that.
Right.
So they are probably just like a freaky, kinky couple.
They have made that abundantly clear to me since the day I met him that, yeah, this is like,
they're just freaky.
He's on board.
Yeah.
He does not, he said on Twitter one time that he's like, he's not a cuck. He's not like dying to watch her get fucked, but he's on board. He's not mad about it, which I always wonder about because I kind of feel like I just don't have that in me. Like I'm just too jealous. Like it's not happening. I don't know.
That's fair. I think it's really common for people to be like that, especially the way like society is like programmed us and everything. Like even like simple things of like so many movies, you know, couples have like petty fucking fights instead of like having like an adult conversation talking about our problems or whatever. It'll be like, screw you, I don't want to talk about this. Like fuck you, you fuck blah blah blah. It's like it shows you to have like sass and to not handle your problems well and everything, and it teaches you, you know, so many things that I feel like it's so normal, and it makes sense to me why guys would have issues with girls fucking other guys.
Yeah, it's
like,
definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
Being a porn boyfriend, if you're a guy and you can't do it, like
I
it's
mean, it
okay.
makes sense. Look at society and the years of like even like what in the 1940s, 1950s. You know, like it's that was just so fresh and so new. It's like you have to wait a little longer for some real change in psyche.
Yeah, porn being accepted accepted in mainstream society is still like very, very new.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Yeah, and really, even like the past 2-3 years with OnlyFans blowing up during the pandemic and everything, that was really kind of like the biggest thing I think that changed it. And it's like, okay, let's talk about things that people say to us in the comments online, because it's a lot of like the same thing 5 billion times in a row. It's a lot of, what are your kids going to think of you when they grow up and find out about what a piece of shit you are doing porn or whatever? And it's a lot of like, you know, people who really think that like a porn star is just somebody who cannot possibly be a good parent, which, you know, I do a lot of just ignoring it. But it's also like, when you really do take time to like try to have a conversation with somebody like that, it really is like deeply offensive, because I see what an amazing mom my girl is. And I see the same thing with you all the time. And it's just like, I don't know, like how do you even begin to approach that conversation?
I mean, well, for me, I've been in porn and like on the internet for over 10 years. So like I have developed the ability to create a thick skin. So like I've been shamed over everything and nothing, you know? So for me, when people talk shit, like I'm almost intrigued now at people talking shit, because when it's like so boring and like the same fucking thing, then I'm like, okay, whatever. But when it's like creative and it's like actual, like, I'm kind of like impressed actually, because it takes a lot to actually bother me.
If you read a comment and it seems like it was written by a Neanderthal or a third grader, it's like whatever.
She's a group project. I'm like, oh, so many people say that to every fucking porn star who has a kid.
But
like,
when I read a comment that's like, it's really well written, it feels like somebody from the New Yorker just put together this scathing comment. You're just like, fuck, dude. Like, but it's never made me for a second question just the fact that like, yeah, I'm cool with making money by being naked on the internet.
Oh yeah, no, I've never like had any insecurity about my job. I've never doubted my job or anything like that. I've never doubted my ability as a parent or anything, because like these people don't know me. They don't know me behind the scenes and everything. Like that was one reason why I even got on your podcast the first time years ago, was because I was like, everyone sees me doing porn as like a stupid girl stuck in the dryer. Like I was like, I'm not stupid. So like, how can I prove myself and give myself more dialogue besides what's written on my script? And I was like, oh, I could do podcasts, and that way I can like explain myself and talk more about who I am. But like in the end, like these people aren't gonna know me because they don't fucking know me. They're not here with me in real life. They just see me on the internet. So like how they perceive me like doesn't really fucking matter to me. Like honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. Even like some of my family members who I haven't seen for like 10 plus years, like their fucking opinions of me do not matter.
You got that too? Lena got a little bit of that.
Yeah, a lot of my family didn't talk to me for years after doing porn. And then like now that I'm like famous and successful and everything, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like you made something. I was like, oh, you didn't support me back then? Well, like, fuck you.
One thing I could say too is that the patriarchy is alive and well with how I get treated versus how my girl gets treated or how women get treated, because nobody gives a fuck that I'm doing OnlyFans. Like nobody cares. Like people might joke about it or like, you know, want to like make it a topic of conversation, but it's like
your family, or you just mean like people in general?
They just ignore it. But I'm talking about like my friends and stuff. They'll joke about it and stuff, but I've never had any kind of negative reaction of like, oh, you're a bad person for doing this or whatever. Like guys, people just don't think of that when it comes to guys, I don't think, which is also pretty unfair. But okay, let's take the most common criticism serious for a second. When people say your kid is going to be mercilessly bullied or is going to have this terrible life, what is your actual thought process when you think about like how your career might affect your kid?
Okay, well, I mean, it's definitely a real fact that my career will affect my kid at some point in some degree. And it's like up to me as a parent to try to like coach it in the most appropriate manner possible. And so I worry in certain senses, like, for example, like with you, when you signed our baby shower card, you signed it to Riley.
Whoops.
Yeah. Lena signed it to Ashley.
This is very hard for me to remember.
Yeah. And so stuff like that is the things that I think of because we are like family friends.
Right.
And so I'm like, yo, Adam, you can't be calling me Riley.
You got an eraser?
Especially,
smudge that shit out.
you know, if I'm like, I don't want Parker to grow up calling me Riley only now because I have a daughter.
Right.
And I want Parker and Emma to be friends.
But that could be like your rap name.
Well,
It's like Snoop Dogg's kids don't. Well, they probably do call him Snoop, right?
I don't want to lie to her either. So that's the thing. So when she's like, "Who's Riley?" I don't want to be like, "That's my rap name," and then like years later, she's like, "Mom, you lied to me," and so it's like. I have to find a fine line, and I haven't exactly navigated it yet. She's only 6 months old. I have some time.
It's weird too because it's like people always want to make it like, what if your kid was grown enough to have this conversation with you right now? But it's also like, well, what is my life going to be like in like 6, 7, 8 years, whenever that might be a real conversation?
Child, you know, some children can handle certain information at a certain age better than others, as well as the way that they could handle the information in general. Like I may have to be a little bit more discreet, or I may be able to be a little bit more open. Like I feel like you have to just read the room.
Right.
You know, like you can't just set up a plan and be like, this is how I'm going to do it. It's like, no, you have to read the room on how to do it.
I also just like, you know, I'm almost 40. Am I going to still be doing this shit in like 8 years? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but
Maybe,
still, it was a part of your past. So it's like at some point the conversation will come.
But I feel like it would be kind of easy to explain to your kid that this is something you did in the past, and that it would be kind of hard to, in comparison, it would be kind of hard to be like, nah, I'm doing this shit every day. This is what I'm doing. When I go to work, I'm fucking.
Well, I mean, you personally also have your hands in many other pots as well.
So I could be like,
myself.
I do a little bit of that, but I do all this other shit too. Like, pay attention to this shit.
Yeah, because you have so much more to show for yourself and in that, as well as like, lucky for me, as do I. Like I have like my production and everything, but like, you know, I'm working on a cartoon, I'm working on other TV shows, I'm working on a clothing brand and whatnot. So it's like, I am hoping that in 10 years that I have so much more going for me, not just porn. So it's like, she'll be like, yeah, my mom did porn, but my mom also like created 2 television series and a clothing line and whatnot. So it's like, there's so much more with like what I can do, as well as like what I hope to show my daughter and other porn stars. Like, you don't have to limit yourself to just porn. You know, you could give yourself the opportunity to expand way beyond it.
Like, I doubt that Kim K's kids are stressing out about her sex tape.
Yeah.
You just got like 1,000 sex tapes.
Yeah.
It's the same shit, right?
I mean, honestly, I'm not worried about it. And like, I started in like certain ways where like when I used to go to like my grandmother's house, my grandma had a lot of like nude art and nude sculptures, and it was always just like art to me. I wouldn't like look at it and be like, oh my God, those titties or anything. It was always just like art, so casual. You don't even like look twice at it or whatever. And so like I put art like that around my house to like also show, it's like beautiful line art of like abstract of the female body and stuff, to start preparing my daughter for the comfortability of sexuality and nudity and women to be beautiful and artistic rather than like super like, you know, horny. I'm not having like Playboy posters up, you know, where it's like sexy fucking Sports Illustrated. It's like, no, this is art, and it can be gorgeous and it can be beautiful. Yeah,
because I always think about you when like people basically suggest like your kid's gonna fucking hate you one day for this shit, and then I'm like, okay, well, if my kid's gonna hate me for it, they're gonna have to hate Aunt Riley or Aunt Redacted, whatever. They're gonna have to hate, you know, a bunch of people that are basically just normal people to my kid, you know. And it's not like we have that many like porn stars that we like actually are like on such good friendship level that they would be around the kid a bunch, but there's definitely a handful of them. And it's like, you know, my kid to whatever extent is just gonna grow up knowing that that's not the craziest job you've ever heard of, which to the vast majority of Americans, if someone that they even went to high school with got into porn, that would be like the most interesting, craziest thing that anyone in that high school went on to do.
Oh,
you know?
100%. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, in my relationship and yours and Lena's, like, you guys are both like, it's not like Lena's shooting and like you're going and working at like fucking some, you know, office job, or you fucking work for UPS or whatever. It's like you guys have both very interesting, unique job titles. It's just like me and Pasha. Pasha's like a parkour athlete. We're very like, it's very obscure, you know, careers and whatnot. So I feel like it almost also makes it easier for your child to accept it, because they're already used to this like more taboo lifestyle of a career choice.
Yeah,
you know?
the kid finding out that their dad twirls around off of roofs and shit is going to be like also a very strange conversation at some point. Yeah,
I mean, I think already like my daughter is going to probably be crawling and walking really fast because she sees her father like rolling on the floor. Like, how many childs get to have a parent that's either a gymnast or a yoga person or something who's like crawling and rolling on the floor? So I feel like for her, it's gonna just make her so comfortable with her body in so many ways.
When I went to your house at the baby shower or whatever, it was like watching him and his friends do these insane flips in the pool, and I'm just like thinking, what the fuck are her kids gonna grow up like?
I'm so scared. I'm like, I do not want Emma to be like, I'm gonna jump off the roof too.
Yeah.
Like, no, you are not.
You want to teach your kids to be like very conservative with like what they're willing to do. Like my kid is like scared of the slide right now. Like she'll go down it if I kind of like hold her or whatever, like as she goes down it, but she's not really trying to like just do it herself. And realistically, I kind of blame myself because there's like 2 different times I could think of where I put her down a slide, and one time she just kind of like went down it like too fast because she was too little, and she kind of whacked her head on the end of the slide a little bit, and she cried for 5 seconds and whatever. And then like one other time, I put her on like some other slide that she kind of like got messed up going down and like fell in a weird way. So I understand why she's kind of scared of slides. And now, so I try to be like super patient with it, and I'm just waiting until she's like down with going on the slide again.
Yeah.
But also your kids are so temperamental that you just like never know. Like I'm sure if Parker was having like her best day ever, that she'd be just going down the slide. Whereas if she's having like kind of a more bummy day, she might start crying about even looking at the fucking slide,
Yeah.
Which is weird to get used to. Wait, you're only 6 months in right now?
Yeah, she's only 6 months.
See,
I know, it's gonna be so interesting. I'm so excited to see the transition.
Because I'm realizing right now that I'm like an old head compared to you because I have like an extra year and a half of experience. Yeah. Oh God.
It's like
yes.
they grow 7 years like dogs in such short periods of times. I'm like, you age like a dog so fast.
Like, yeah, and because it starts out where it's like, your kid basically would cease to exist if you weren't tapped in 100% on whatever the fuck they're doing all the time. 2 years in now, it's like I can fucking make breakfast and she might go play in her room for 20 minutes and then just walk in. Hey, Dada, how you doing? And like to have that like freedom that she's like, part of it is that we have the house like super fucking baby proof. So it's kind of hard for her to get into trouble. But I mean, that's just trippy because at first my reaction to having kids was almost like, oh fuck, this is so boring. Like, what the fuck do I do? Like, I'm like, my girl's laying there breastfeeding all the time. Like, how do I make myself useful? But I'm like kind of sitting on my phone looking at Twitter fucking 8 hours a day while I'm just trying to figure out like, what am I supposed to be doing? And now hanging out with my kid is like the most fun thing ever.
Yeah, I've had other parents who told me they're like, after 6 months it starts getting more fun.
Yeah, because to me the language is like the most fun part. It was just like watching that develop.
She just started talking, and she's just like, what, 2 days ago she started going.
Yeah,
she never did that before, and it's like, and then what? Yesterday she's now like reaching and grabbing without falling backwards.
Really?
And I'm like, oh my God, you're reaching with 2 hands.
I remember teaching my kid like real early on before she could really say any words, and that was her whole language. You would walk into the house and her only way of being able to say like, I'm excited to see you, was to go like, it was so fucking funny. And for a while it was like you'd walk into the house and she would start jumping up and down just because she doesn't really know how to say anything. That's like her only way to communicate is I'm just going to jump up and down.
She's excited, yeah.
Mind blowing. But now she's stringing words together, and every word we say, she can just repeat it afterwards. And at the end of the day, she's talking about all the people that she hung out with all day. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool also for me to like have seen her growth too. I mean, obviously I'm not there all the time, but like to see, like when I first met her, she was like so shy and very timid and very like wanting mama. And like now when Lena comes over, she's playing with Pasha and everything, which I was like, oh my gosh. Like I remember when you were like so like timid with people and you always wanted Lena.
Right.
And like now she'll like come to Pasha and give him like a toy and stuff. And I'm like, this is so cool to like see you grow into yourself, grow into being like a child, you know?
Yeah, paying attention to other people's kids lets you like understand what's to come in such a better way.
Yeah.
And like lets you know what to not worry about. Like I remember my friend Jason, his kid was like, I remember him telling me that she was only saying mama and then only saying dada for like periods of like weeks at a time. And he told me that, and I was like, oh my God, like, is she okay? That like really worried me for a second. And I told my girl, and she's like, it doesn't fucking matter. But like, you know, that was like, there's just all these little things I've seen with other people's kids that now I feel more prepared to navigate those circumstances.
There's so many things. Like, I even remember learning, because like we are trying to have a bilingual child who also speaks Russian and stuff. And so like, I remember like reading where it was talking about like, you know, teaching your kids bilingualism. Like some kids also like will grow further in language development rather than like their motor skills, and some go with motor skills before their language because it's hard for them to do like both at the same time because they're so young and their brains are still developing. And then I was saying with bilingual kids, like some people may like say some fuck shit or whatever, like, is your kid stupid because they only know 3 words? And it's like, no, they only know 3 English words and they know 3 Russian words.
Right.
But to like an English speaking person or a Russian speaking person, they may think that your child is dumb because they don't know that she's bilingual and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's things like that.
My kid has a bunch of stuff that she says in Armenian because my girl's trying to teach her Armenian and then also English, and then our housekeeper speaks Spanish.
Yeah, we're also trying to do the Spanish on the side.
Because my kid is with the housekeeper so much that my kid knows a bunch of Spanish words.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, well, why would we would be doing her a huge disservice if we didn't keep that going
100%.
as long as possible, you know, and like get her a teacher, tutor, or whatever at some point. But I mean, for me, as somebody who feels like a fucking caveman because I can only speak one language, the idea of like giving her the gift of knowing 3 languages, because I wish that I could fucking know 3 languages, but I just feel like that's a bad use of my time at this point. Like there's so many things that I want to do in my life, and just I don't know, learning another language.
You have to be around it all the time. Like the only reason that I'm even learning Russian is because I'm around it all. Like Lena doesn't even speak Spanish or like, and how useful is Armenian? Like no offense, but it's like Spanish is like to us, like Spanish is like a useful language, but like I'm not taking the time to learn it. I'm learning Russian.
Armenian is like learning fucking Greek or like
aren't there letters?
It's like learning Latin.
Are there letters or are there letters like shapes?
I honestly don't know. No, they have weird. Yeah, they have their own alphabet for sure. Yeah. But like, I mean, it is kind of like if your kid can learn 3 languages, then they're gonna have no fucking problem learning more languages. Whereas if you just learn one language, it's gonna be really fucking hard to branch out from there. And that's how I feel.
We're even starting with sign language because they say that your baby should know sign language because they can communicate with sign language, which, you know, Parker does more and stuff like that. And so like we're doing like hi in English and privyet. So it's like privyet is also hi in Russian because RSL, Russian Sign Language, is different than English Sign Language. So it's like we want her to already start adapting her brain to 2 languages even as young as now to Russian. So hopefully she can be like, Privyet or hello.
Hopefully, like, because she could get you can get amazing jobs if you speak 2 languages fluently. Because there's just like if you speak Chinese and English, it's just like there's going to be a lot of different. You could be a work for a company that needs to communicate in China, so you could like be an English speaker who goes over there. That'd be super useful. You could be a translator or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, we're on better terms with Russia by the time your kid needs to get a job.
I mean, my husband's Latvian and they speak Russian there. In the Ukraine, they speak Russian there. They speak Russian like in multiple countries, not just
That's a
Russia.
Good point. Yeah. Maybe she could help rebuild Ukraine. They're probably going to still be working on that when she's a full-grown adult. Yeah. Damn. So, was there ever a moment of any like weirdness in terms of your husband and his family, or were they always super accepting with you? Or
his immediate family was super accepting, and I was shook at how like awesome they were about it and everything like that. Like. And even it was really cool. Like I think one of his grandmothers was like kind of on the fence and didn't love it. And her husband, the grandfather was kind of like, yo, like back the fuck off. Like she's making shit happen and everything. And I was like, this is so fucking cool. Like even like old school Latvians who I thought would be close-minded because they were part of the fucking USSR, no sex in the Soviet, are like very pro me and stuff like that. So like I feel so fortunate that they, are so accepting of me and everything like that. And even like when Pasha was like, unsure about dating me. Like one of his best friends, who's like one of my favorites of his friends, was like, people are gonna think you're stupid if you date her, and people are gonna think you're stupid if you don't date her.
Right.
So it's like it's up to you, on you to choose which stupid you want to be.
Right.
You know, so
definitely. But does that ever get to him? Because like I remember reading the comments on his interview and being like super bummed that a bunch of people had negative shit to say, and like just feeling like, fuck, I can't do anything about it. It's just like a large percentage of the comments are negative, and that kind of reflects on me. But like, is there ever a point where that kind of bugs him, or is he just tough enough to it?
No, I think now he's like super cool with it, and like he knows like those fucking people don't mean shit, and like I think he used to like read more of the comments on his social media before he started being with me, because the engagement wasn't as heavily, and it's always very positive and stuff, and so he was very active on his socials before. And I think now he's just learned to not be as active, because people, you know, don't say the nicest things. And sometimes people don't say even nice things now about Emma, just like the whole like group project, or like, how do you know even that's your kid? Or stupid shit like that.
You will be shocked. I've been shocked at a few times at like how vicious people can be. Like just seeing, the worst is when somebody will say something terrible about your kid, and then it'll like have any level of virality on Twitter, because you're just like, oh, like a couple thousand people like this, like I'm sick that many people think that's cool to talk shit about a kid like that. And that's the same thing I feel when people are talking about, oh, your kid's gonna get bullied, and it's like they're saying it like gleefully, like they're happy about a fucking innocent kid potentially having to go through some shit. Like that is some really sadistic shit, and I don't think you realize how fucking weird that is to be like taking pleasure in this fake scenario that you've created in your head, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like every kid is gonna get bullied. Were you bullied?
For sure.
I was bullied. My parents didn't fucking do porn
for
or
normal
anything.
shit like being fat and ugly.
Yeah,
I had glasses. I had a bowl cut.
Yeah, I was a nice, smart kid, and girls would throw gum in my hair because I fucking did my work.
Yeah,
you know, like I was a nerd.
Yeah,
so it's like no matter what, you get bullied. And even though I was the nerd getting bullied, I still bullied other kids too. I remember seeing one kid and being like, "I'm so jealous because your tits are bigger than mine," and I was like, I got cursed for saying that. I never grew boobs.
Oh man, but I mean, do you like plan on, like, in terms of how controlled you want your kid's life to be? Do you want them? Are you planning on putting them in like great private schools, or like do you plan on traveling with your kid? Because that was one interesting thing I got to see with my girl. She just hit the road and went to Europe for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that was
with
crazy.
The kid. Kind of mind blowing to me. I told her, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't leave work for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And she just fucking did it. And it's like, it's kind of crazy, because I'm like, that is a wild life for a kid right there. And she was totally fine. Like the whole thing went super smooth, which is great, because it would have been the biggest nightmare ever if it didn't go super smooth. But I mean, yeah, like it's kind of a question of like how normal you want your kid's life to be versus how much you want to like indulge them and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to like travel with my kid and stuff like that, because I didn't get that luxury. Like I didn't start traveling until I didn't leave Florida until I was like 20, like or like 19 to come do porn in California and stuff. So like, and then like my first time traveling was for work, and a lot of my travel has always been for work. I think I've only gone on like maybe 2 or 3 vacations where I got to travel for my own personal, you know, pleasure. But ideally, I would love to like be able to give her a more luxurious, cultured, diverse lifestyle and whatnot. Like, I don't know about traveling when she's 2 or something like that, but like I definitely want to be able to like provide as much culture, diversity, and with education, that is so hard for me, because it's like you're battling. I have to pick and choose my battles, because it's like I grew up in public school. I love going to public school. Like I felt like I got real life experiences. I mean, I was a normal kid or whatever like that. I didn't live like in a fucking fancy house or any shit like that. So it was like I was just like a normal kid going to normal fucking school. And I thought it was really great. And you get a variety of students that, you know, are either low income families or high income families that are just like regular.
Right.
And I feel like if you go to a private school, your child is going to be surrounded by more, you know,
elite families, you know, there's a lot of people whose families come from money and their dads are big time lawyers and doctors, you know, actors, whatever.
Yeah, like I didn't have a car in high school, and I remember being like, man, like I want a car, like even if it was like a Honda, you know. But like if I take my Emma to like a fucking private school, she's gonna be like, I want a Bentley for my first car, or I want like a BMW. And I was like when I was a teenager, I was like, I just wanted a car.
My thing too, though, my thing is the quality of the education. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a good education at a public school, but I mean, I've definitely read a million fucking articles that have made me feel like, damn, a lot of people are not getting a great education at public schools. Versus also, like, you know, if you're paying, some of these private schools in fucking LA area are like, you know, $50,000 a year, $80,000 a year. They better be doing something with that fucking money. If you're dumping all this money into fucking some private school, I haven't visited any of them. My girls toured a bunch of the ones for like, you know, preschool kids and shit like that or whatever. But like, I mean, there's got to be just like a different level of education possible. And realistically for me, it's like if I'm going to spend money on anything, I probably want to make it optimizing my kids' education. Also, there's like realistically there are viewpoints that I don't want my fucking kid to get indoctrinated into. Like there are some crazy teachers out there that I just like I want to be involved enough to like know what kind of shit they're teaching. I mean,
I feel you. Like I plan on being on like the PTA meeting. Like I plan on being like super involved in especially my child's education, because like I'm also like planning, like no matter whatever school I put her in for like her American school, like we're going to have like a Russian like private homeschool. It's like she's going to come home from school and have more schooling.
Right.
So it's like, but I don't want to do like a homeschool thing, but I can't teach her Russian. Like I can't, is there a private Russian school in LA? I have no fucking idea.
Honestly, probably, maybe.
There might be, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I feel you on the education and everything. I just also want to be able to provide her with as much real world experiences. And like, I have, my little brother is in private school, and I grew up going to 3 different high schools actually. And like, I think I'm a very intelligent woman. I was taking like AP classes at like my regular school. I was taking college course classes at like my regular school and stuff like that. And so like, I think that even though there are definitely shittier public schools and nicer public schools. So like, I'm hoping like, you know, she can still get a valuable education.
Right.
You know, it also just depends on the child and the student and how fun you make school for them and whatnot. So like, I don't know, but that's like a hard conversation, because I'm like, as a parent, do I want her to be around a bunch of pretentious pricks, or do I want her to be around, you know, fucking average Joes?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I could see the good and the bad of your kid going to school with construction workers' kids versus, you know, elite Hollywood directors' kids. Like
we're in LA. Like, what are they going to be going to school with LeBron James' kid? Like, I don't know. Like, to me, that seems like a little fucking much.
But they're also, if you can afford to have your kid going to school with LeBron James' kid, that's pretty sick. Because
that fucking doesn't matter to me.
No, because life is all about networking. If you make friends with important people from the beginning of your life, that's going to be massively advantageous to you. I'm
not teaching my kid to fucking make friends with so and so because they're going to benefit your life.
But you don't even have to teach them. They're just if they're around all important people, they're going to have to be friends with somebody, right?
I mean, yeah, but like
I'm starting my kid off clout chasing young. And I'm kind of serious. Because I think, listen, like if you're going to go to fucking a club, you want to go to the club that all the important people go to, right?
No.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, because part of the value of going to the club is meeting people and who you're around, who you're spending time with.
No, I go to the club with my friends that I choose. I don't fucking care who's already there. I'm like, okay, Lena, Tara, you're coming to the club with me. You're my
okay, yeah, you want to control your section
and
for sure.
I'm gonna go to a club that's playing banging music, as well as a woman. I know what there's like a oh fuck, I can't even remember. Davy Jones, Davy something. There's
that club, yeah.
There's one fucking little club that I used to love to go to, and then I hated going there because the guys always fucking bothered me. And then I would go to Break Room 86, which is a higher or older crowd, and those guys don't ever fucking bother me. So
you're saying a higher class, like it was a more pleasurable experience at the higher class club?
No, at the older, like it wasn't a higher class. It was I think the other one was actually a higher class, but it was more trendy and it had a young youth people. So it had like the fucking annoying 23-year-old guys trying to fucking hit on me. When I went to Break Room 86, it's like the 33-year-old guys, and they're not fucking bothering me.
I'll put it like this. I've spent a lot of time at skate parks that were full of people like literally smoking meth and like fighting and probably girls getting sexually assaulted. Who knows? Like the worst fucking shit you could ever imagine. And then I've been to skate parks that are in like super nice areas where they got a fucking attendant, no bad shit going on. I mean, if I got to send my kid to one, she's going to the nice one.
Well, I'm not sending my kid to somewhere where I know there's meth. Like, go ahead, I'm gonna go play.
Okay, there's got to be an in between. Yeah. The meth might be a little too far. Yeah, you're right.
I just mean in the sense of where it's like, I just want her to be around people that she's enjoying and the environment that she's enjoying. Like, I don't want to necessarily be like, you know, putting her in something that she doesn't want to do. You know, like when my parents put my sister in gymnastics when she was like 6, it's because she was already rolling on the floor and stuff. If my parents tried to put me in gymnastics, I'd have been like, I didn't learn how to do a cartwheel until I was like 23 years old.
Because, okay, me and you are from basically like humble upbringing, basically. Like, didn't come from money. But now we live in the richest part of the fucking country and we objectively have money. Now, the way that we got it might be a little freaky to a lot of the people who are like at the average level of money that we're at or whatever. But realistically, it's like we could kind of go two ways, where we could like keep being humble, being yourself, like make your kid grow up with a more normal upbringing, or you start playing the fucking game. Like, you remember when you heard about what's her name, who was like basically paying to get her kid approved for some fucking fancy ass college that she wasn't actually going to get into? I mean, like, that's what really rich people do, is that they want their kid to have this insanely specific upbringing where they're around all the right people and everything, because that, like, yes, you are going to get a very elite education at Yale or Harvard, but the thing that actually really matters is that you now have this massive web of connections with the most elite people who go to those schools, you know? And like, it's kind of right there as an option for us to sort of play into that game of like wanting to be these fucking awful people who run society, or try to remain sort of normal.
Yeah, I think I want to remain more normal. I think that I just want my daughter to just have a happy life, and like, I don't want to predetermine or predestine her too much, you know? So it's like, I already know growing up where she's growing up, having her parents, it's like, I'm already kind of setting her up into certain paths just because of who I am. And so it's like, I don't want to narrow her down too much, you know? Like, if I like try to put her in this elite path, or I want to introduce her to these certain people and I want to like plan this certain future for her, like, that's not me letting her live her life and whatnot. And so like, I want to be able to like guide her, but allow her to like live the life she chooses.
It's crazy because it's almost like you kind of have to like push your kid to take their education so serious that they could like get into Harvard.
Yeah.
But then also, if they just are not that into school, or they're just not like that good at testing, or they're just not that kid, or if they want to go in a different direction, they want to get obsessed with some sport, or they want to be an artist or whatever, you have to also then accommodate that. But I think like as a parent, I definitely want to like push my kid to like take their education as serious as possible, regardless of if that actually takes and they end up being,
I'm trying to like make education as fun as possible.
True.
So that she like really enjoys it. So like, even little activities like you know, when where you were a kid and you go to the restaurant and they have those like activity charts where it's like the crossword puzzle,
right,
la la la. To me, those are good tools to teach your child to do homework and education in like fun ways and stuff like that. And like nowadays, they don't offer those as much, or there's like so much like, you know, the phone or the iPad and stuff. And so like I plan on making my own like, you know, at home like Russian and English like activity things. So like when I take her to the restaurant, or it's like she wants playtime, it's like, here, do your little like crossword puzzle, so that it's like a fun activity. Let's do the crossword together. So it makes, you know, learning and everything an adventurous and cool activity, not just like something dull and like, you have to do your homework. This is important and it's good for your education.
But see, okay, the interesting thing about that is I kind of feel like when you look at the cultures that produce the most intelligent people, like specifically the Asian countries, it doesn't seem like they're too focused on making education fun. Like from what I've been able to gather from like paying attention to their cultures, like they are just fucking ruthless, like with like making their kids do insane amounts of time in class and stuff. And because I heard somebody say that, they said there's something kind of fucked up about Sesame Street because Sesame Street teaches your kids that learning is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I think that's
almost
good.
I think that too, but then it does almost create like a little bit of a weird incentive where like, are they going to be able to really learn when it's not fun? I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I'm also being like a crazy parent, and I've already like we scheduled out schooling like already.
Yeah, my girl's deep in the tank on that.
Yeah, so it's like I like we have a separate play room. It's like her play education room, and like I have a whiteboard, and every day we change it where it's like today is math, and we focus on like how math development is for 6-month-olds. So it's like you shake the rattle 2 times. Then 1 time or 3 times, and like they develop patterns and stuff like that and learn numbers. So it's like we are already establishing school time, and then I have homework time after, and I'm even like Googling it. It's like, when's the best time for your children to do homework? Are they supposed to do homework as soon as they come home from school, or are they supposed to do homework like 2 hours after? Like, what's the best, most the best time for your child's
How are you
development?
approaching screen time?
Screen time right now, we do it as it's very minimal, and a lot of it is like we watch Fantasia, so it's like classical music, or we watch like Russian cartoons that Pasha grew up watching.
Oh, really? Nice.
So one is like Chubarashka, which Crocodile Genya.
My kid's real into Sesame Street. She likes a bunch
I
of...
love Sesame Street, and I think that's really great that you have her on that.
I grew up on it so hard that there was never... My girl didn't grow up on it, but now she knows all the characters. But my kid loves all the Disney shit. I just think you have to like keep it in a very certain realm. Like keeping it on mindlessly all day is what I'm totally against. What I like is saying, okay, we've had this whole day, maybe let's chill out and we're gonna watch your cartoon for 20 minutes. Or I like using it when you just need to in a pinch, where it's like, I have to fucking make breakfast, and if you're upset, like when she's upset, when she's mad because mom just left or whatever, and I have to make breakfast, sometimes
it's a good soothing
Elmo
tool.
will keep her chilling out for 20 minutes. But then also I try to like really only do it when I need to, because a lot of times you don't have to. Like she will just play with her toys and sit there and read books and chill, draw, whatever. And that's just like so much better than her just zoning the fuck out, because you see 100%. How much power it has over them when they're just Parker normally like has so much life, and she's talking and she's creative and she's having fun,
and then they get zombified.
And it's like, but then also it's like when you make it more about education. Like sometimes I'll be like talking to her about an animal because she's super into horses, or one day she'll be talking about butterflies, and then it occurred to me the other day, I'm like, let's do this. I sit down and I put on like a 4-minute YouTube video of like how butterflies fucking whatever. I don't even know the terminology. She's going crazy for it. And I'm like, wow, this is like, YouTube does not have to be a source of like whatever or negative shit. You can teach them so much with YouTube. You know?
100%. Emma is like, like one of my dream goals for Emma is that she works for National Geographic. Like that's like what I want, even though I don't want to program her, but like it would be really cool if she works for National Geographic. And so like I bought a shit ton of baby National Geographic books, and those are like her favorite books to look at, is like the ones of the polar bears and the deer. You know, she doesn't so much care for some of the cartoony stuff. She's like really interested in some of the National Geographic, and like I feel you with like the TV time. So it's like for us, because we have our schooling thing, so it's like Mondays are our language arts days, and so that's when we'll do like the Russian cartoons. So
keep in mind her kid is 6 months old. This is a lot for a 6-month-old.
It is a lot, but I still want it. It's really important to me.
More attention is a lot better than like not enough attention when it comes to parenting. So I'll just err on the side of whatever the fuck you're doing for sure. Okay, let me ask you this. There is temptation, or at least there is like a precedent that has been set for porn stars to basically get huge on social media. Obviously, I'm kind of subbing Mia Khalifa and Lana Rhoades right now. Get huge on social media, make a fuckload of money off of like, whatever, and then just kind of like renounce your porn past and kind of attempt to like, to some extent, like make content talking about the ills of the porn industry. How do you feel about this little racket?
That stuff makes me really sad. But I know that everyone has their own individual experiences, and porn isn't for everybody. So, like, it makes me really sad at how they go about expressing themselves, in the sense of where I feel like specifically those two girls are very adamant about saying it's really bad and everything like that. And I wish that they would speak about how it's really bad for them specifically and emotionally.
Because I don't relate when I hear girls like that, or
I
like,
don't relate either.
I don't relate to the version of porn that you're talking about. And I'm sure it's out there, and I'm sure there's girls that have been through 10 times worse shit.
100%.
But most of the porn girls, damn near all of the porn girls I know, are happy young ladies who are very, very comfortable with their life. They don't have to do anything on camera that they don't want to do. They work with the people they don't want to work with. They are extremely vocal when anything happens on set with a guy that they don't like, and they feel heard by the industry. I am honestly proud of the industry as a whole in terms of most of what I know that goes on in it. And I know there is bad stuff, but the idea that that is the majority of people's experience, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like necessarily the majority and whatnot. Again, like, you and I are surrounded by a lot of the top stars.
True,
so like, we're not going to get a lot of the experience from the girls who maybe came in for 3 months and then left, because that's the real like longevity of, like, at least like when I started porn. I know it's so different now, so I'm not really sure, but like when I started, it was like a girl's career lasted 3 months, you know, and then they were off going back to like real life or whatever. And so like, I don't know a lot of those girls' stories. I don't know how it affected them. I don't know about their personal well-being and like what they're doing now. And so it's like, I know that there are lots of girls and men who get into it and it's just not for them. Like I said, what I'm just really sad about is that those two specific girls have such huge audiences and they don't navigate the conversation about it being specifically about them, and that they kind of generalize it as a whole that porn is just bad altogether, which I don't think is fair, because everyone has different perspectives, different feelings, different lifestyles, different kinks and pleasures. And so it's like, yeah, maybe someone like Lana Rhoades didn't enjoy it and this wasn't the career that was meant for her, but someone like Riley Reid is so fucking grateful and so happy with this career.
It's
and
like,
I wouldn't, if I could live my life again, I would.
It's like denouncing Christianity because some Catholic priests have, you know, raped kids. It's like, that is a valid criticism of the Catholic Church, but it's not a valid, you know, why this thing shouldn't exist argument. And, you know, my thing too is like, I don't want to act like I'm just like laughing at fucking what Lana's been through and stuff, because the story that she told that kind of hit me the hardest was like the whole thing about her basically having a guy on set suggest that he wanted her to drink a bowl of his piss on set, and then she talks about this and like damn near cries when she talked about it, because it was a very traumatic thing that for her to look back on. And I get where she's coming from, because I don't feel like any girl should have that sprung on them during a scene or whatever.
I mean, and also like separately, as a woman in general, it is very hard to be put in situations and be taught to say no.
Right.
Like, women, we are taught to be like, there's like this amazing video. I don't know. I don't want to say it's a tampon commercial, but I feel like it is or something. But it's like, it has like, they're asking like little boys and grown people like fight like a girl, and they're like fighting like this or whatever. And then they ask real life little girls fight like a girl, and the girls fucking throwing punches, because it's like, at what age do we start to like change our perception of women to be weak and whatnot? So I feel like there are plenty of women, even that I know in like real life circumstances, where this girl was with this like celebrity and she felt she had to have sex with him because she felt like she would be like made fun of and stuff like that if she didn't. And it's like, I feel like there is this like double standard for women where they feel like they have to do things because their voice isn't loud enough. And I still think like we're kind of getting through that, and we're still teaching women how to be able to be vocal and everything. So sadly, Lana probably was in a situation that she wasn't comfortable with, but we're also not trained to be as vocal. And some parents do a better job at teaching their daughters versus other parents. But as society as a whole, it just teaches women to be weak.
Yeah. And it's like, I can kind of see the argument from the other side as well, in the sense of like, you know, we don't really do anything spontaneous on set, in the sense of like, you know, we're never going to be like, hey, let's do anal. Hey, let's do bondage. Let's whip each other.
I've been
you know,
put on in situations like when I did David Dobrick's YouTube video. He has a camera on me, and he goes, he's like, "Oh, do you think my friend Dom is hot?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's cute." He's like, "Would you kiss him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd kiss him." He's like, "Would you kiss him right now?" And I was like, "Ooh, I'm under a little pressure. I wouldn't naturally kiss him, but like, okay, sure." And I'm playing up Riley Reid, so like maybe I'm not actually attracted to this guy, but I'm filming a video, and I'm like, "Yeah, he's hot."
because that was the one where you acted like you were gonna bang him, right? And then you didn't do it, right?
I didn't even want to.
But is it presented like you did in the video?
Yeah, well, so the whole video is presented, and it was like under so much pressure because I'm in a room of like 12 people playing up this Riley Reid persona, filming this David Dobrick video, and he's like this like icon person. So that he's like, "Will you kiss him?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Will you kiss him right now?" "Yeah." "Okay, kiss him." And I'm like, okay, I kiss him. Like I didn't really want to, but like whatever. I fucking done so much shit I don't fucking care. So I kiss him, and then he's like, "Would you fuck him?" And I was like, "Yeah." Again, playing up Riley Reid persona.
Right.
And then he's like, "Would you fuck him right now?" And I was like, and then they were like, "Okay, like let's go into the room." And they basically like pushed me into a room with him, and he starts like talking to me about wanting to do stuff and everything. And I was like, "Oh, fuck. And I asked him, I was like, "When's the last time you were tested?" And they were also talking about how he just had a threesome like the night before or something.
Right.
And he was like, "I haven't been tested in like 3 weeks or something." And I was like, "Well, I'm definitely not fucking you because I shoot for, you know, companies." And this time I was still actively shooting. I was like, "If you have chlamydia and you give it to me, then I'm going to give it to so-and-so and so-and-so is going to give it to them." And that like,
and
it's
thank you for that,
effect.
because I have gotten STDs from this exact thing, where the girl's just out being a hot girl, fucking random dudes who aren't tested, and then all of a sudden they're giving me and my girl STDs. And it's annoying.
And so like, and I felt so lucky that he didn't get tested, because then I got to end the video on such a beautiful, positive note, because I was like, guess what? He could have fucked me if he was tested, but he's not. So make sure you get your STD tests. Ding, you know, like Riley Reid for the win. But like, he put me in such a weird, awkward position, especially as like my Riley Reid persona, that I was like, I felt so uncomfortable. But like, I tried to find a way around it, and I ended up making it work for me. But like, even not on porn, I was put in this uncomfortable situation because I do porn.
Right. And that is interesting, because like most vloggers haven't really like had to learn that lesson that like people in the porn industry kind of get at a certain point, which is like, you really don't want to be doing shit spontaneous. You want to have a plan, and you do the plan. And especially,
like, even the fact that I showed up and I didn't know that there was going to be 12 people. It's like, when I show up onto set, I know who I'm fucking and like who's the camera guy. Like, I know everything that's fucking going on. So it's like, whoa, like you're throwing me into something like you don't know what porn's like. And I know everything. I'm like, before we shoot a scene, I sit down with my guy and I'm like, okay, like what positions are we doing so that I know how to change comfortably, because it's like, if I'm going from one position to the one, I don't want it to be fumbling. I want it to flow. Oh, I feel like something went weird in my audio. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. You might have like kicked the headphone.
Oh, no, now it's working.
Right.
Yeah, I get really animated.
I know, it's good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, we one thing people probably don't know is that before you do a porn scene, it's like there's a no list, and you kind of just have that conversation with the girl. What do you not like? And girls will say stuff like, "I have extensions, so I don't want you to pull my hair." That's a very common one. They'll say, you know, "I don't like getting slapped in the face," which is like, I'm not really going to do that anyway, unless we talk.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, some guys are more aggressive than others. Myself, I'm like very paranoid of like crossing somebody's boundaries and like then having it kind of like reframed afterwards. So I'm really not going to like do anything unless we maybe talk about. I'm always trying to have a conversation and kind of gauge like how crazy they're down to get with the blowjob. Because I would really like to fuck every girl's makeup up, but that's a lot to ask, because a lot of girls have shit to do for the rest of the day. You know? So
are you into that website, Hookup Hotshots?
I appreciate the style generally. I would say, yeah.
That's so interesting. I know a lot of guys who like it, and I was like later in my career when that website came out, and I was like, you will never catch me on that fucking website.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched it in like a million years, but I would say that like that's not what I jerk off to, but I could definitely
jerk off to your own content?
Sometimes, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever use your imagination when you jerk off?
All the time, because that's what I've been jerking off to. Let me tell you, for the majority of my life, I've been jerking off to like what I've already done sexually, like thinking about old experiences.
My husband does that too.
But then at some point, like the last few years, I've kind of got more into watching porn and stuff, mostly because I just like meet porn star girls, and then I kind of like want to see what's going on, whatever. But then also now, because of the fact that I have all these great memories on camera, it's like, but then also it fucks me up sometimes because I'll be like hating on my own performance sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Or the filming. I'll be thinking about it from the perspective of the filmer.
Or you're like, I wish you got a different angle.
Whereas like, yeah, actually, honestly, jerking off to like iPhone footage from my girls' OnlyFans would probably be better.
But do you ever do like I personally like to use my imagination, but like with like real life people in not real life circumstances. So like my husband going and like kidnapping a girl or something like that. Like something that's like not a real life.
I'm not breaking the law, but generally, I would think about, sometimes I might like put together like a fake fantasy orgy in my head.
But like with real people that you know.
Yeah. But it's like your animal masturbation brain that's like somehow just like cobbling together a couple different hot people that you know, and like you're kind of like all of a sudden just fucking them in your head.
Yeah.
But I don't think of anything like outside of like sex. Like I don't think I like even think about like scenarios that much, maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm all into like scenarios.
Interesting.
But a lot of my scenarios are all like super taboo scenarios. But I can't watch porn, and I don't ever think of past experiences.
Really?
I've never been that type of person. I'm always like imaginary experiences with real life people.
See, I'm thinking like, what if there was a super hot chick who worked at the Starbucks?
Yeah,
and
I
it's
would
like,
think about her. I would think
I'm
about
never gonna
like,
bang her, but like I could kind of like think about it jerking off.
Yes.
I haven't been in that position, but like I could see myself doing that.
Okay. Yeah, that's who I am.
I've always had a hard time jerking off to like girls that I think are hot, but I've never seen them naked and I've never hooked up with them or anything. Like I don't know if I could jerk off to that girl from the Starbucks because I don't have enough to work with.
No, I like imagining what their dick. I like not knowing and imagining what their dick could be, because then it could be the perfect penis that if I knew what it was, and I know it's not fucking perfect, so I'll be like, nah.
Yeah, that's a situation where as a woman, the fantasy is probably going to be a lot better than the reality a large percentage of the time. Because a guy could have trash dick or use it badly, even if it is a good size.
Yeah, and a guy, he either needs to know if you're wet on the inside or he's got to bring lube. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Okay, so what about your non-porn business ventures? You've got this clothing line that I understand you're wearing right now.
Yes.
What's it called?
18 plus.
18 plus. And how did this brainstorm come together?
I've been wanting to just like explore other creative realms for like fucking years and shit like that. And I've been working on like my cartoon for years and like different TV things that, haven't come into fruition, just because like, especially TV and stuff, like the fucking takes like sometimes 5 to 10 years for something to become real.
Right.
And so I was, releasing my creativity and that, but it's like, it's kind of like at a halt because I can't see it like happening yet.
So people are working on your cartoon right now?
Yeah.
Like animators, do you have a script in their work? Yeah. Really? Wow.
Yeah. We're working on like the pitch, and we're working on like fine tuning our like pitch episode and everything.
Who are you working on it with? Because you're friends with those Rick and Morty guys, right?
I am, but they're not working on it with me. But the people at Adult Swim are helping me because I've never made a pitch before, so they're helping perfect my pitch for me, which is actually very generous and really lovely of them.
But you haven't like recorded audio or anything yet.
No.
Right.
It's still like I'm still perfecting the characters, like animations and stuff like that.
Sometimes when I watch like modern cartoons, I'm like this is kind of like a podcast that somebody has just made
There
animation
is.
to go with it.
There is one.
There's one that's like literally like that?
Duncan Trussell's podcast became a cartoon by the people who animated Adventure Time. I forget the name of it.
Really?
But his whole thing is podcasts that were animated.
See, that is smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy to think of them like recording the audio. Obviously, it's like all written in advance and stuff. But then like
No, for him, the podcasts are
I know.
recorded.
I'm just talking about like most cartoons. It's
yeah.
It's like this written script that these actors perform, and then these animators just have to make this crazy ass cartoon to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is interesting because I am friends with Justin Roiland, and there's one episode. What is it? The Interdimensional Cable, and he's that's like at the tiny plates or the tiny restaurant, and it's like, you got a tiny mouth? Here we have tiny lasagna, tiny whatever. And he was saying how when he was doing the voice acting and the creation of that, the way that he pictured the animation to go is not how they animated it, which I do find very interesting. Is that like sometimes as the creator, what your visual of how you're wanting it to be depicted, because you're a creator, but you're not a graphic designer, and you can't fucking do all that shit.
And you can't sit over the shoulder of the animators and make every single decision. So that must be crazy as the person who writes it and records it to be like, I'm just going to give it up. And at some point, this fucking lab of animators is just going to hand me something back.
So much, because also like how many people are actually working on the show, and as a creator, you only have so much power because the network and so and so.
If anyone in the chat or in the comments wants to like recommend YouTube content that could show me how like modern cartoons are animated and what it's like for the animators, I would appreciate it, because I would like to learn more about that, because I haven't really like, I'm thinking about what I thought animation was like with The Simpsons back in the day, and it was just like insane, like hand drawn. Like,
oh, did you ever watch that like short little documentary about the South Park animation and how they used to do it?
Not really, but I feel like that was the beginning of like really efficient animation. It was like barely anything happening with the characters.
I think they like just cut it out, and they would like move the pieces of the paper.
Like, oh, I could make a cartoon. Like, I was watching South Park. Like, I could do this. Like, this is not that intimidating. The Simpsons was intimidating, but this is like, you could just do this. Wow.
No. Yeah. I mean, it is still intimidating. I'm not an animator, but it's still like,
especially when I compete with all the other shit out there, you got to have a pretty high standard, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking hard. And then it's like, it's hard because like you write something and you're like, oh, this is funny, but then you read it like the 100th time and you're like, fuck, is this funny?
Yeah.
Like, you've read it so many times that the joke's not that funny anymore, and you start doubting yourself, like, fuck, is it funny? It was funny 6 months ago when I wrote it.
It's easy to be casually funny, and it's hard it's hard to be like funny when there's the expectation of you being funny. Because like, yo, the people watching this have probably laughed a bunch of times at random different shit we said, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I could be a stand-up comedian. I don't want to have to like.
I think I could.
Oh, jeez.
That's
You're
like
more
one of my
confident than me. Yeah.
I was like, I want to go.
I feel like it's a lot of people's like, that's their goal, because that is like the most extreme version of human communication.
I don't know. I feel like, especially because I feel like you probably are somewhat to the same degree. Like, I've done so many podcasts and interviews, and I've told a lot of the same story multiple times, that like I'm really good at telling the story now and being even more animated and giving the inflections, you know, and whatnot at the right time. So I feel like, I don't know. And your whole thing is talking and communicating, so I feel like you could script yourself out in like.
Well, okay, so I saw my friend Jason Ellis do comedy the other day, and he like is new to comedy. He was like a pro skateboarder, and he was like an MMA fighter, and he basically, you know, he's like bisexual. So it's like his comedy routine is basically like the story of his life, you know? And it's funny. He's like making jokes about all this different stuff. And especially if you were somebody who didn't know anything about him, you'd be like, whoa, this is a fucking crazy ass story. This, like, where did this dude come from? So watching him do that, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I have like a version of that in me for sure. But then I also would like, I would feel crazy if there was anybody who already knew me in the audience. Cause it's like, I would feel so weird about sitting there and being like, then I started this BMX website. I feel like if my fans are in the audience, they're going to be like, well, no shit. We already know. I
mean, yeah, but like, that's how I feel. Even like anytime people are like, how did you get in porn? I'm like, are you really asking me this question? You really don't know the answer? Because it's like, I've told this story 100 fucking times, but there's always someone who's never heard the story.
It's true.
And yeah, there's going to be people who've heard it 100 fucking times, but they're probably still going to listen to it.
Yeah, maybe. That's just part of why I find it intimidating, is because if you do comedy, you're speaking to so many different audiences at once.
Yeah.
Who do you aim for? Do you aim for the person who knows a lot, or do you aim for the person who knows nothing? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is.
I aim for what makes me laugh. So, like, to me, some of the funniest things is, like, when you're watching a stand-up comedian and they're, like, laughing at their own shit. Like, sometimes, like, that's what makes me laugh. Or, like improv things, like a good example, again, Rick and Morty, where, like, they improv in their interdimensional cable where they're talking about the movie Two Brothers or whatever. Right. And it's like you hear them laughing. And even when I was, like, a little kid, I remember watching on, like, some of the Nickelodeon, like, the Amanda Show. Like, sometimes because they did, like, the skits and whatnot, and they would be laughing at themselves. And to me, that was always the most genuinely funny, because you're watching someone who feels ridiculous and funny on stage that they're laughing at themselves. It's like almost contagious to me. So it's like, if it makes me laugh, then I'm gonna tell it.
When I was at the same comedy show, there was one guy who came out and his comedy felt like 100%. He was just talking shit to people in the audience and, like, doing, like, fun. Everything was just totally random, and maybe some of it was scripted, but he just did such a good job, like, making it seem like it was crowd work that I gave him credit for it being, like, off the cuff. Yeah. And it's funny how I kind of, like, it's easier for me to consider somebody funny or, like, think that they did a good job if I feel like they're just doing it on the spot. Whereas, like, when it feels mega scripted, I feel like then the standard is way higher for me in my head. And I'll give you another example is, like, we'll always freestyle on the show. Yeah. And I can say some funny ass shit. But when you're just making shit up to the beat off the top of your head, it's very easy for people to give you credit for, like, rapping good. Whereas if I go in the fucking booth and I have to write the lyrics down, the standard is going to be so much different. Yeah. When people know that I fucking planned this out.
I mean, that's why I'm not going to be a rapper. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. Anytime I watch a stand-up comedy show, my expectation is so high. When I'm on Netflix and I'm going to fucking watch Ali Wong, my fucking expectations are so high because I'm like, this bitch has a Netflix special and everything. Like, this should better be fucking funny.
And that's why that job is the hardest shit in the world, is because it's just, you're going up there and everybody in the room or everybody at home knows that this is supposed to be funny.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of those people just already have a natural, like, charisma and stuff, and already can naturally make people laugh and smile.
Well, if you're going to end up, like, with a Netflix special, you better have some fucking natural charisma at a certain point. If you get to that point and you're, like, not good at your job, well, I've seen it. It could be tough.
I guess I have as well.
Yeah, it's definitely out there. But okay, with the clothing line, like, how serious are you taking it, and what are you doing to make it so it's not like, regular old YouTuber merch?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the goal is to go as long as possible, but that's obviously going to depend on how our first drop goes. So fucking hope it sells out so we can start working on our next collection. Right. And if it does really well, because again, like, my world has been content, so that's why I was also driven to go to cartoon, because I was like, my world is video content, cartoons is video content, my users like to watch content, so that's what I was going to do. And now going to clothing, that was like a totally different realm and a totally different type of, demographic of people and clients, customers, fans, or whatever. So, like, that, it was, like, super scary for me to do it, as well as, like, it's all personal investment. So, like, I threw in a shit ton of fucking money into it, hoping that it does really good, as well as, like, I wanted to be like a high-end streetwear brand, and so, like, it's kind of like a luxury streetwear. So we, like, really focused a lot of time on, like, our materials and, like, the quality of the product and everything like that, and even, like, the cuts and the styles, because I was like, everyone has merch, and I was like, I don't want to do merch because I'm trying to make bank, or I'm not trying to, like, just sell shit to my fans and it's, like, not good quality. It's like, I want to actually do a legit clothing brand that people want to wear, and, like, my hoodies are made of such a good quality that, like, you should be able to have our hoodie for, like, 10 years.
Right.
Like, it should be, like, long lasting.
It's kind of crazy because I feel like, okay, I'm into, like, a million different things, and, like, hip hop, skateboarding. I've seen people from these walks of life create massive fucking fashion brands throughout my life, like, just, it's happened many, many times. But then I'm into other stuff like poker and bike riding and all these other things where, like, nobody has ever been able to like make a brand that kind of like was this like really cool poppin' brand in the same way that I've seen people in hip hop and skateboarding. And then sometimes I look at porn and I have seen a few different girls try to do like clothing lines or merch or whatever to various degrees of seriousness, and it hasn't really happened yet. And it's like it makes a lot of sense, you know, this that like somebody from porn could create a brand that maybe, because it's got some XXX type iconography, right?
Yeah. The whole
but it's
thing
not like
is
in your face with it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I wanted it to like, because my whole thing also being in porn is like I've done it for so long, and porn has been such a blessing to me that I want to help shape porn, kind of like the opposite of Lana Rhoades, you know, like I want to like shape it in a sense of where we can be more than just porn. And like I'm hoping to be like one of those, you know, content creators, one of those porn stars who help shape porn into being beyond it. So it's like that was like my original goal with like the cartoon, is like if I can make a cartoon as like a porn star, I can help show the world that we are not limited and we are creators and creatives beyond, you know, like I started in porn, but like that doesn't mean that's where I'm ending.
And that is why so many people in the porn industry get pissed off about certain girls having negative shit to say about it, because the dream of people in the porn industry for years and years and years has been like, or maybe they didn't even dream it because it wasn't even a possibility, but the idea that somebody from porn could get really famous and become an actress or a real celebrity and be able to like, you know, spread the normalization of porn to the world, and then to see two girls who are objectively two of the biggest girls who came from porn, who are maybe like kind of spreading a negative interpretation of it. That is like kind of, it's understandable that that's disappointing to a lot of people.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's why I say it's so disappointing to me, because they don't take it as such a personal approach. You know, I've not watched much of Mia Khalifa because she was like already exited after I started, but like I've seen some of the things that Lana has said, and it definitely like hurts my heart, because I'm like, that was your personal experience. Speak from your heart, because I definitely don't advocate everyone starting porn. I definitely say, like, you know, I started as an extra. I dipped my toes in and everything like that. I started off in like a very like clean and easy way and everything. Whereas, you know, not every girl wants to do that, and that's okay. But I feel like there are ways for you to like get a taste and get a flavor and see if it works for you or if it doesn't. And it's all individual based. And she specifically goes out of her way saying that like it shouldn't exist at all. All she says, like, the only thing that should exist is that the creator can do it for themselves, like OnlyFans, which, like, yes, I think that's beautiful. But like, some people like going on set. There's something really fun about being on set. There's like, it's exciting and it's sexy, and there's like other, like, it's communal.
It's
and like,
such an illogical argument, because the idea that you should be able to make content of yourself, but that I, as an entrepreneur, should not be able to say, hey, Riley, hey, this girl, hey, this guy, I've got $1 million worth of investment capital and I want to make all this amazing porn. The idea that that should not be allowed is like too stupid of an idea for anybody to take serious, and that's just really unfortunate, you know. And the fucked up thing with her too is that it's like she built her name on porn. Like, you are famous because of porn. You make 6 figures a month from OnlyFans because of porn. Everything you have came from the fact that people were fascinated about why this really pretty girl was doing all this freaky ass shit on camera. And without porn, there are a million fucking other girls, and I'm not taking anything away from her.
Like,
she's super pretty. There's a lot of fucking pretty girls.
My God,
There's a lot of pretty girls who haven't done porn, who, if they did porn, would instantly be world fucking famous, and we all know it. But they haven't done porn, so their fame level is kind of like maybe held back a bit. She did it, and she has 20 million followers as a result for a reason.
Yeah, I know. And there's certain things that I don't love about that, and like, I'm sorry to just be completely brutally honest. It's like, different things, like she deleted her Twitter, made a new Twitter, and it's titled Milfy Lana. And it's like, if you don't want to be perceived as a MILF, a mother I'd like to fuck, then like maybe you shouldn't have made your Twitter handle Milfy Lana. If you're trying to rebrand yourself, like maybe your bio shouldn't say like ex porn star, you know, like, or especially like ex porn legend, I think is like what it says or something. So it's like, if you are really trying to like rebrand yourself and porn hurt you that much, then like, why are you still using it? Because like, to me, if it was something that hurt me so bad and I was really trying to change my life, like I would be withdrawing it. Like I wouldn't name myself Milfy Lana. I'd be like Ashley the mom, like Lena the mom, you know, like I would use my real name and I would like properly try to rebrand myself, you know? And so like to me, I'm like, if she genuinely felt this way, I feel like her approach would be so different. And so like sometimes I have a hard time, you know, understanding her approach in disregarding everything but still utilizing it so strongly. So like I don't know, it's a little bizarre to me, like her personal approach of like I feel like maybe she's having a hard time understanding how to. She's also so young too, which is like I think she's like 25 or something like that. And to me, that's like, when I was 25, I was a totally fucking different person. I'm 31 now. Like, my mindset is so different when I was 25.
But you know what I think part of it too is that, okay, she did porn when OnlyFans was not an option. There's all these girls making all this fucking money and they don't got to do shit on camera. They're showing nipples. Everybody knows Tana and Ruby Rose and all these girls are making hella money off realistically not doing shit. So she was probably maybe always somebody who like wouldn't necessarily have done porn. She just like wasn't necessarily that person, but she did it because it was a good opportunity in that moment. Now she probably wouldn't have done porn. She probably now would just be like, I'm going to be this cute girl on OnlyFans or social media or whatever. And she kind of looks back at it like, oh, I wish I had been born 6 years prior so that I would have never done that in the first place. But I mean, yeah, there's shit that we all regret, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of how I wish her story was told a little differently, where she would just talk about her own personal experiences rather than just kind of like shaming it altogether, because there's so much opportunity in this world, and I feel like porn has such a negative stigma already. It's like we need the opposite. We need the girls like myself who are trying to like make a positive influence for the other models, because there's so many fucking shitty documentaries and shitty press about porn that's like, I'm like, no, like people look up to you and listen to your voice, and like you're using your voice for such like devastation for an industry that already is so scrutinized. It's like this porn already has enough bad stigma attached to it. So it's like, why are you going out of your way to add to it, to fucking slam it in the ground? You know, it's
Let
like
these girls live.
And especially because like Lana is friendly with girls like Lena and myself and other girls who've been in porn. So it's like, she knows like we're happy with what we do,
right?
You know, so it's,
and that's the dishonest part.
Yeah,
she knows a million bitches like you and Lena who are happy as shit, who have a great life, and are not dealing with the negative side of it. You know,
exactly. I'm happily married. You guys will be happily married soon. It's like, I feel like there's so many other girls who are like us that it definitely causes a disservice, because it's like, I'm trying to change porn for the world, for the better. Like, that's my whole purpose in life now, is like, I've done porn and I loved it and it changed my life for the better. How can I leave this world with a better taste of porn? You know, because I feel like that it has done such wonders for my life and my emotional well-being and my mental health and my mental growth and like my acceptance of love for people and everything. Like, porn has like made me who I am today as this free loving of all people. And like, to me, I'm like, that's what I want to share with the world, is all of this love that porn has given me. Porn didn't give me hate in my heart. It gave me the opposite. So it's like, that's what I'm trying to do. And so, yeah,
for sure. See. Hey, well, I'm happy to see you, you know, happy, and especially as a mom, because I'm sort of in the same box as a dad, you know.
Thank
you. Being a reformed piece of shit is, you know, trying to raise a good kid and have a good life and everything out here.
Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting.
For sure. So when are they going to be able to get the clothing?
It drops on Black Friday.
Ah, nice.
Thank you. Thank you for being such a support and pushing my clothing line that I keep forgetting to talk about.
You're on here to talk about it for a fucking reason, right? And I've been told that I got some shit coming in the mail for months now, so I don't know when it's going to show up.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to be getting it on Black Friday.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, it looks comfortable, so I'm into it.
Thank you. It is. It's super comfy. We have his, hers collection and stuff, so it's mostly male driven because that's my audience, but we're hoping to do more female clothes in the future.
That is That's self-aware.
Yeah.
Definitely something to take into account for sure. Yeah, we're not making any girls' booty shorts right now for that reason.
Yeah, I wish, ladies, but you guys don't watch enough of my content. Sorry.
Interesting. Okay, maybe the girls who have a hard-on for Pasha will invest.
Oh.
Are they out there?
Oh, for sure. I see so many girls comment, I love you, Pasha. And I'm like, you're so cute.
Wow, that's funny. All right. Well, thank you very much, Riley. I appreciate you.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
No doubt. Riley Reid, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram, etc. Like, comment, and subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want to support.